Hey guys, welcome back, or welcome if you're new here. My name's Olivia and I have a birth defect. So this video, I wanted to talk about my personal experience growing up with a birth defect, and hopefully you guys can relate to it whether you have one or not. I just want to apologize in advance for any background noises because I live on a farm, so there's gonna be noises, okay? Good. I think a lot of my experience growing up with one was just kind of realizing that I wasn't normal and, navigating life knowing that I wasn't normal. I'm gonna try to keep this video pretty short because I am also young and I know other people my age don't have a long attention span, so I'm gonna try to keep it short and simple. First thing I want to say is that my birth defect is called a vascular malformation. My first video is a whole explanation, kind of answers common questions about what my arm is. So I also just want to put it out there, if you guys have any questions, please feel free to ask in the comments and I will try to answer them. Let's get on with the video. First thing I wanted to talk about is when I was diagnosed with a birth defect, a vascular malformation. I was actually only a couple months old. My parents had thought that I had just a small bruise right here. I don't know what to call this, like your inner elbow. Sure, yeah. But they found a small bruise on my arm and they took me to the doctors, and I think they only went to about 2 other doctors until they found out I did have a vascular malformation, and you do have to go to a specialist to actually get it diagnosed. From that point on, everybody knew what I had. I had a vascular malformation, and I also have varicose veins in my arm, which, again, if you want to know everything about that, go to my first video. Obviously, I don't remember much when I was a baby at all. But I've just heard things from my parents and from family about what happened, and it was all kind of just basic baby stuff. I learned how to walk, I learned how to talk, and my arm never got in the way of that. Not until about 3 or 4, I think I really came to terms with the fact that I was different and that I wasn't normal. I know you guys hate when I say I'm not normal, but not everybody has this. It's not a normal thing. And I get there really is no normal, but I consider it to not be normal. I don't walk down the street and see 10 other people with it. I remember the first time that I had ever seen anybody stare at it, and I was probably, I think I was 3 or 4 years old, and I was in Old Navy and we were checking out, me and my mom were checking out, and there was a little girl probably around the same age, if not younger. I just remember her being shorter than me, so I'd always thought she was younger. And she was staring at my arm. She never made eye contact with me, and I was obviously looking at her. She never made eye contact with me. She was just staring at my arm. And at this point, my arm wasn't this big. It was a lot smaller. I'm gonna try to put in a picture of me when I was younger if I know how to do that. I don't think I do, but we're gonna figure it out, okay? So that's when I first realized, okay, people are gonna stare at it. So it started to happen more and more. I would just walk around a mall or even just in a tiny store. People were staring at it. And it felt weird. It made me feel very uncomfortable because I was little. I really didn't understand what I had. I knew that my arm wasn't normal, but I just really didn't understand why everybody was staring at it because I didn't know how uncommon it is to see something like this. I think what made me the most uncomfortable was probably just all the stares, because nobody ever came up to me and actually asked me if I was okay or what was wrong. And if they did, it was my mom who explained it to them because I was a little kid, so that was, kind of scary. But it was always my mom who would explain it to them. So I felt safe. and she was always with me, or my dad, but nobody ever really came up to my dad. I don't remember that ever really happening. I just remember it happening with me and my mom. But it was just all the stairs that made me so uncomfortable, and I eventually, learned how to deal with the stairs because I don't look normal. Of course people are gonna stare. I like to put myself in their shoes and think if I saw somebody with an arm like mine and I had two perfectly normal skinny arms, I would look at their arm. I mean, I would also probably be too scared to, go up and say anything, but that's normal. People are scared of that. My family was definitely my number one supporter from day one. From as long as I can remember, they had always told me how beautiful I was and how lucky I was, and I absolutely agree. And I think I consider my situation very lucky because I had a family like that to grow up with and be surrounded by, and not everybody has that, and I understand that. So I feel bad, I feel like I'm almost boasting about it, but I just know that I'm so grateful for what I had, and that I definitely wouldn't have my mindset or my positive outlook on life or if I didn't have them. So shout out to my family. I love you guys. Thank you. When I started to make friends, it was a little tough, I think, just because kids are brutal. They don't care what they say. They know that nothing's really gonna come of it because they're kids. So I wouldn't say that I had a hard time making friends in school or anything. It was just kids said what they want and they didn't really care. So that was the first time I guess I could say that people were, rude about it. But, they didn't know they were being rude. They weren't aware of that. So I didn't even take it to heart then, and I don't take it to heart now. I just remember a couple kids in school, kind of being scared of my arm, and they would, run away if I, pointed my finger at them or something. It was I think I took it more as a joke, though, than anything, because it kind of felt like I had powers. Because kids would run away from me, and it was like, oh yeah, I'm cool like that. And I always thought of it as something cool that I had, not anything negative, which I'm thankful for myself for having that mindset since I was so young. But my friends were always very supportive of me. They never questioned anything of course they questioned things, but it wasn't something that ever came in the way of friendships or relationships, anything like that. Everybody was always just used to it. It was me. This is who I am. And they were always very accepting of that. So once again, I am thankful because I never really had a hard time in school. So I appreciate everybody not giving me a hard time and making my childhood good. Another thing about growing up with a birth defect is hospitalization. I've gone to the hospital a bunch of times, which of course I have. I mean, come on. You really think this thing isn't going to go to a hospital? I started going to Boston Children's Hospital every other year since I was probably about 4. Incredible hospital, incredible people, incredible environment. I mean, it's made for kids. There's a staircase that freaking makes sound when you go up it. Yeah. Something that did kind of bother me as a kid was that the only time I would see people like myself was in a hospital environment. That was kind of scary to me. And that's why I want to be able to put myself out there so younger kids can see even people my age, people older than me. I want people to see that they're not alone and that they have other people like them, not in a hospital, in their own environment. But that was something that did really bother me, though, is that I really only saw people similar to me in a hospital. So it's kind of scary for a little kid. But everybody at the hospital always made my time there fun. They would always, make funny jokes, not about my arm, but just, in general. And they were always very easygoing, and they would take pictures of my arm to kind of track size growth and everything. Because my arm is constantly growing, especially during hormonal stages in life, like puberty and pregnancy. If you have vascular malformation, hormones will affect the growth and the pain. Again, if you have questions, go back to my other video. It wasn't until I was around probably 12 or 13 they started talking about surgery, specifically size reduction surgery, because, you know, I was going through puberty and it was getting bigger. But I never really thought about surgery before, but it also wasn't something that was ever brought up. I had talks about compression sleeves, different medications I could go on to help with blood thinning. Compression sleeves, though, they just kind of like keep everything where it is, and it's supposed to help with the growth of your vascular deformity. I keep getting off topic. Let's try not to do that. When I was younger, I did have, I think, 8 years old, 8 or 9, I got a compression sleeve. Didn't last very long because I spilled apple juice on it and it never returned back to its normal size. So that didn't work out for me. And I've never gotten another one, but honestly, I really didn't like it. It was very uncomfortable, and because my arm has all these weird bends and bubbles on it, it would pinch my arm, and it was uncomfortable. I didn't like it, so I didn't wear it. Surgery, though, I've only ever gotten one surgery. It was sclerotherapy, where they inject something into your veins, and it kind of makes them like shrivel up, and gross stuff that I don't really completely understand. There are tons of other surgeries, though, but I don't really think I need it, and nor do I really want it. I'm happy where I am. My arm doesn't bother me. It doesn't really get in the way of anything. So, I'm still able to do everything. I've always been able to do everything. Ever since I was a little kid, I always did gymnastics, I did cheer, I did field hockey. My arm never affected me in those ways. My surgery, though, did kind of make me take a step back because it was a very invasive surgery, something that my body has never experienced. So, you know, it's gonna take it one way or the other. It's gonna have an easy time, or it's gonna do what my arm did, and it's gonna get worse for about a year, and it's gonna suck for about a year, and then it's gonna get better again. And it was purely just because my body had never gone through anything like that before, so it's basically just your body is confused and it doesn't exactly know how to react to it. So that's another story. I feel like my phone has been sideways this whole time. So that basically sums up my life growing up with a birth defect. Very simple, nothing too crazy. If you have any questions, please ask, because I will try to answer them as best as I can. I just want to say that I am very thankful for how my life was growing up with this, because talking to other people, I've heard all their struggles in life, and it just makes me so thankful for how I was able to grow up. So I want to say thank you to the universe, to my parents and friends and family, for making my life as easy as you could, because it really is incredible so far. I would like to make a couple more videos more in depth about things, though, definitely, like my surgery, my childhood, bunch of things like that, because I could talk about those things for not hours, but definitely minutes. I tried to keep it short and I tried to keep it simple. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. There's a new video coming soon, a very spooky video, so if you guys are into spooky things, stay tuned. Thank you guys. Have a wonderful day. Also, if you want, maybe like and subscribe. You don't have to, though. There's no pressure on you, but that would be really cool. Alright, bye.